Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Smash Dispatch. I am one of your hosts, as always, Fidel, joined by me, my co-host, Ultima Shadow X.
Hello.
And I recently found out your name after hosting this podcast with you for 4 months now.
Yeah. I generally I don't really publicize that I go by Aaron, but I always jump down with chill people, so I'm fine with that too.
I feel like there's actually, I think it's because of Twitter. I recognize so many people on Twitter just from like their @ and their username as opposed to their actual name.
Exactly.
It's a whole thing. But anyways, today there is still no news on Smash or whatever. Obviously, this week is a little preoccupied with bigger things going on in the world. And Nintendo even actually put out a statement about everything. So I assume even if they had something going on this week, which I doubt because this week is for Xenoblade and tonight is Clubhouse 51 games and Pokemon.
Oh,
so I feel like, so I feel like because of all of that going on, they're like, let's just save Smash for week 2 or 3 of June. What do you think? You think it's gonna be like later half next week? Where do you think?
I don't know because Nintendo, I genuinely think they're unpredictable, right? Like the Pokemon update, they were like, this is gonna come out in June. It's like literally June 4, like literally the start of June, right? But they've had times where they're like, this is coming in June, and they mean like the last possible
30th,
day of June, you know?
Exactly, so exactly.
We have I have no idea.
I mean, I feel like they could do it either. I feel like next week would be perfect because it's right after Clubhouse and Xenoblade, and it's right before Pokemon DLC, which they don't want to get in the way of. So I feel like next week would be like a really perfect time to be like, hey, stay tuned tomorrow morning for Sakurai's presentation on whichever character it is. Anyways, we don't have news on that yet. But we did have a funny article that came up about Sakurai saying the reason why he doesn't talk about what games he's playing is because he doesn't want Smash speculation.
Oh no, I mean he used to actually all the time. Like, I remember when he was talking about when he was playing Undertale and how much he loved Undertale, and people were like, oh, does that mean we get blah 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 in Smash? And it's like, no, but I mean it is funny now looking back that we did get the Sans costume.
Exactly. Because again, like when you really think about it, there are sometimes he could be literally playing something that could have something coming to Smash, whether it's a character costume or literally a character coming in the game. But yeah, of course, like it definitely must be annoying the fact that you can't even share what game you're playing without everybody laser eyeing you of like what you're like. Imagine, like I said, imagine Sakurai was playing Dragon Ball FighterZ and he was telling Twitter, everyone would just like lose their mind.
Right. I mean, the dude just wants to like relax and chill and play games. Like, imagine if he was like, I was playing Clubhouse 51 and people were like, Domino for Smash?
It's time for the Domino or Connect 4. Right? That would be amazing. But yeah, so I mean, hopefully, anyways, we're getting close to that, and Mr. Sakurai, just tell us what you're playing. Just tell us whatever you're playing. But today, speaking of games we're playing, we are actually going to tackle JRPG characters in Smash. Now, I originally had the idea to make this a Xenoblade theme episode because of Xenoblade, but then Ultima obviously pointed out that I think it would make even more sense to just do a JRPG episode since there's kind of like one character from multiple JRPG franchises. What do you think about it all?
Well, yeah, so if you really look at like Smash's history, it really wasn't until I'd argue Ultimate that we got like broader RPG representation, right? Like, because if you think about like the standard turn-based RPG, all there really was prior to Shulk in Smash 4. Oh, and I guess Cloud in Smash 4 too, but Shulk was first, obviously. We only really had Pokemon and Ness, if you think about it.
It's true, like exactly. Like we had Pokemon. Again, you could technically argue Fire Emblem, but that's more tactical RPG as opposed to traditional, just like turn-based in a fight.
It's more strategy and like and it has with RPG elements. Like if you want like a game that's like a core RPG, a Pokemon and Ness that prior to Shulk getting added. So I think it's definitely like a genre that has its representation, but really didn't until later on, which is interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of want to talk about it. I'll go through each character and how they're represented. Because, yeah, it's like, you think about we talk about Smash, how it's a celebration of gaming, but like when you really boil it down, it really is more of a celebration of Japanese gaming, because obviously we have characters like Banjo and we have some spirits from like some Western games, but it really is mainly all Japanese games, all Japanese IPs, really. And I think obviously a big part of that is JRPGs. I mean, when you really sit down and think about it, it is actually insane that it took until Smash Ultimate to get the hero from Dragon Quest in there, because Dragon Quest is literally the biggest thing in Japan. Like,
yeah,
it cannot
Dragon
be understated.
Quest is like the granddaddy of JRPGs, and
oh yeah,
like again, it's a cultural, like it is a cultural like bomb in Japan. Like literally, like if there's a new Dragon Quest game coming out, it's always on a Saturday, and like everybody takes off, so
exactly.
everybody can play it. You know, like
it's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy, and it is insane. Like you'd think that Dragon Quest would have some representation prior, considering how big of a franchise it is, but again, like it wasn't really until Brawl that we got like third parties, and then even then, like, you know, it's surprising that, you know, Cloud. I think Cloud was added because, you know, Final Fantasy has a very big Western appeal as well at the same time, and he is iconic as well. But it is surprising that we didn't get him. We didn't get the Dragon Quest character until now, you know. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, yeah, obviously Cloud, like it was, and he was even like. That was a big deal, right? Because FF7 really doesn't have any history with Nintendo, so it was such a cool thing to see that. That was, and everyone was making the joke back then of like, wow, Cloud could join Smash, but not PlayStation All Stars, when like that's what their part of their legacy was.
Right.
So it was all super funny in that sense. But yeah, like if we were to go like before like other stuff, like character by character, if we start, we have our OG, I guess, would be Ness and Lucas, right? Those would be, I mean, no, actually, I guess Pokemon, right? Like Pokemon would be the OG, right? And what's cool about Pokemon is like, that's what's special about JRPGs, like characters in the game, right? You gotta not only choose, like, you not only have to adapt a game that has basically like, because even back then, like when you think of Pokemon, right? When the first Smash came out, Pokemon was still just like the sprites kind of hitting each other on the screen, right? It's like you had the anime for reference points of attacks, but when you were to look at the gaming side, it's definitely hard to think of a moveset, because like I said, it really was like you're seeing the two Pokemon face to face. You don't have 3D models. If you shoot like Electro Ball, it's just like a little dot that goes to the opponent. It's like it must have been a really interesting, fun time to adapt. Like back then, when it was Pikachu and Jigglypuff, the only two, right, in the original.
Yeah, just Pikachu and Jigglypuff, and at that point, I think only Pokemon Stadium was out, like, at that point, so they did have some 3D models for reference.
Right.
But again, it's mainly based on the anime, and I think that is the one thing that has to be said, because, you know, people are wondering why the Pokemon are mainly based off the anime. It's kind of, at the time, it was very hard to adapt the Pokemon to be true to the game. Like, that just wouldn't work. Like, that is the one thing that you'll see throughout all these characters. JRPG like characters in Smash are interesting because they have to stretch the source material, you know what I mean? Like, they have to adapt it to an action game when it's not an action game, it's a turn-based game, you know?
Yeah, like in a funny way, right? Like, Cloud now makes more sense in Smash with FF7 Remake than he does with old school Cloud, which is really funny.
Yeah, exactly, right? But
because the whole thing,
Yeah, but in terms of Pokemon, you know, they obviously they have some of the iconic moves of the Pokemon from the game, but as Pokemon like expanded and the games got more like detailed, I think it was definitely a lot easier for, like, you know, like comparing Cineroar, you know, to like Jigglypuff, and Cineroar much more animated. His moves definitely like are coming from the game, but like sort of visually from the anime. But like a lot of those animations are from, you know, the game itself as well, like Darkest Lariat.
Sun and Moon. Yeah, exactly. It's like when you think about it, it's like, Pokemon is definitely like the OG master. Like, I feel like they've almost mastered the idea of how to adapt Pokemon in the game. Because when I really sit down and think about it, it's like, I really don't think there's a bad Pokemon in Smash, right? And I feel like the one thing, and we talked about this in the Pokemon episode, so we won't stick to it for too long, but I feel like the most JRPG-like Pokemon character is the Pokemon Trainer, right? Because that literally is taking the gamified element of Pokemon, of switching Pokemon in battle, right? Strategizing to your specific opponent's needs. It's like, to me, I always thought that was such a cool idea, and I had wished that they had made, you know, a Pokemon Trainer 2, right? Where it was like 3 other starters that you could like flip around with. Because again, that is, when you sit down and think about it, when you think of like the hero, which we'll get to, you have like the drop down menu, and Pokemon, the massive part of that is switching Pokemon in battle. So I wish they would have like, obviously it must have been really hard to make that character and everything, but it's like, I feel like that character is definitely one of the, like, when I think of how Pokemon is best represented in Smash, I think of Pokemon Trainer. Because
no,
again,
I totally agree. Yeah. I totally agree. I think the whole like strategy of swapping, that's like such a huge part of Pokemon, and like that's represented so well in Pokemon Trainer. And each Pokemon has their own defined strengths. You know, Squirtle does, he can rack up damage, but he's very light. And then, you know, Ivysaur, exactly. Even if you like think about like what the Pokemon, like their strengths and weaknesses, you know, how and how that's like reflected in the game. That's like the core, you know what I mean? So
exactly,
I definitely agree with that. It would definitely have been cool. Like, I don't know if this is like a hot take, but I would have definitely been cool if like we didn't get Pokemon added as often, but we had like just one Pokemon Trainer, like maybe like every 2 games, because then we're getting like 3. You know, we're getting like a really cool fleshed out character.
Yeah, I mean, I would love if because we've talked a lot about how we potentially might see another Gen 8 Pokemon in the game. Well, no, actually a brand new Gen 8 Pokemon in the game. And it would be cool if they were like, hey, it's Pokemon Trainer 2, and they've got, what's it called? They've got Scorbunny, they've got Grookey, and they've got, who's the third one? It's,
Scorbunny?
No, I said Scorbunny, Grookey,
Sobble.
Sobble. Yeah, like those in their different forms, that would be really cool, right? Because just, yeah, again, that's the best. To me, it's like when I think of Pokemon representation Smash, that's the best style. It's been cool to see that thing kind of adapt. What about what do you think about, because I've played Earthbound, but I have very loose memories of it. Like, what do you think about Ness and Lucas's inclusion? Because they have to be vastly different.
It is funny because I think they're like, along with the Fire Emblem characters, they're like the characters who are like, you know, you played as a kid and you're like, what, who, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
A lot of it's actually kind of crazy how many people like have gotten into Earthbound because of Smash. I mean, I think that's great, you know.
I'd say majority of people that know Lucas and Smash are from Smash. There's no way most people know them from Earthbound. Like, it's actually there's no way.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays maybe, because Earthbound did see a big resurgence, but that's definitely due to Smash Bros. In my opinion.
Exactly, yeah.
But in Japan, you know, Earthbound was a very, very big deal, and it just makes sense to have Ness here, especially because it's probably one of like Nintendo's JRPGs, like, you know,
exactly,
their most fleshed out JRPG. And I would say, like, in terms of moves, you know, they obviously had to take some creative liberties. Like, you know, as I'm sure a lot of people are aware, like, Ness doesn't even use PK Fire or Thunder, because that was Paula who had those, you know.
Okay, so he just kind of draws them from the other characters.
Yeah, I mean, it was explained, like, actually, it's kind of funny. In Melee, they're like, oh, Paula actually taught Ness these moves because she knew he was going to be entering the Smash tournament or whatever. Like, something cute. Something cute like that. But yeah, he takes a lot of his moves from other characters. Like, PK Starstorm is from Pooh.
Right.
So, I mean, which is understandable because, like, sort of Ness is like a tank in his game, you know. But I really do think that they sort of created the wackiness of Earthbound with Ness. I mean, because, like, think about like his up B, right? That's like such. PK Thunder is like no other move in the game is like PK Thunder, you know.
Dude, I mean, like, it's like, it is crazy how PK Thunder is the number one turnoff for people that don't want to learn that thing in the game. Like, the amount of, like, how many times have you played with a friend and then they're off the stage and they just don't know how that works, and you just see the Thunderbolt like go away and they just die.
Yeah.
Like, it's the funniest thing to see. It's like, that was the reason I didn't play it for the longest time. It wasn't until, like, I want to say it wasn't, I mean, I used to play Lucas and Brawl, so I kind of had it down, but it wasn't really until, like, Smash 4 on 3DS where I was like, oh, okay, now I kind of understand this. And not only can you use it to recover, but you can use it to hit yourself and get onto the opponent, which has always been like a really clever aspect, right?
Yeah.
And the baseball bat, is that is that in the game? Is that like a move, or is that a creative
that's Ness's main weapon in
the
game. And then you know, it would have been actually kind of cool if like that smash effect was added when you would actually land his forward smash, because that's like when you get like a crit in Earthbound.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think Ness and Ness is very well represented. I think Lucas they probably had to take more liberties with as well. Like the rope snake isn't even his in the game, which he uses.
That I know.
But I think it is very, very nice that both of them are represented, because Earthbound is and Mother, like it's a very, very important series.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully one day we'll see it return. Was there any other like Earthbound character you'd want to see in? Like if I was to go, I mean we could do that later.
They've added the other characters to the final Smash, like
it's true.
Paula, like a lot of people I think wanted Paula. Which is understandable. Another character people wanted. A lot of people talk about Nintendo, who's
as like a clone.
Well, like an echo of Ness. A lot of people say because
exactly.
Earthbound Beginnings, which is like the first Earthbound, the first Mother game. That character is different from Ness. He's called Nintendo, but I think a lot of Earthbound fans, a lot of Mother fans, they've been saying like Nintendo doesn't really do the same things as Ness, so he could very much be his own character. So I don't know too much about Mother 1. So
right.
But I you know, if people are saying that, then I have no reason not to believe them.
Exactly. So. Fair enough. But yes, and of course, and like like you said, Ness and Lucas are pretty like, especially Lucas. They're like, Ness. They're like faces of Smash by this point, which is really cool. Another JRPG character, we touched on it a little earlier, was Cloud, right? I mean, Cloud, obviously Final Fantasy, one of the biggest, most known franchises of all time, and I'm sure I mean that was such a big, like I think my Cloud reaction video is still on my channel. It's like one of my earliest reaction videos. I could not believe it. Like I could not believe back then when like you hear the theme and then you just see like Cloud's boot, like because back then they weren't doing cool. Like I don't know why for Smash 4 DLC they just gave up on CG trailers and it was just like in-game footage trailers.
Yeah.
But it was cool to just see like, oh, you see the boots. I'm like, no way, this isn't happening. But yeah, Cloud in Smash. I guess that was like, I mean, when I'm looking at it here, that was the first out of first party JRPG character in Smash.
Yeah, like definitely Cloud was getting added, I think, is like a legendary moment. And I would argue like a lot of people did wonder like why Cloud, but I mean if you think about like who is the most iconic Final Fantasy character and how much of an impact 7 had on just the world, like I mean it makes sense it's Cloud, even if you know his game was never on a Nintendo console, like you just have to pick Cloud, right?
Exactly. And like I wonder if there was always like plans for a while then that anyways FF7 and the other games are going to be ported to whatever Nintendo's next console was, right? Like there might have been those discussions because we always talk about how like these characters, it's like that's what I loved so much about Cloud, where it really felt like this is not marketing at all. This is genuinely just an iconic character that has no representation in Nintendo. I mean, technically he's been in spin-off games that have shown up on Nintendo, but it's like this is like an idea of this is a primarily PlayStation associated franchise getting a representation in Smash. And I feel like Cloud for the most part is really well done, right? Because he's got all his different slashes, right? Like and obviously they've had to take some creative liberties, but he's got his different smashes. The limit meter is obviously such a smart idea, right? That like you hold down B to build up the limit gauge, and I like that it wasn't just one attack. That's what I always thought was cool. I like that the side B was like, you know, a more powerful what do they call the exact
cross slash? Cross slash.
Yeah, R/, and exactly, and you have like the one-shot kill move. Is that one new or is that one from the old
Finishing
game?
Touch? Sure. I think Finishing Touch was in Final Fantasy VII, but I think it acted a little bit differently.
Right.
Like
it is in the game. It is in the game.
Yeah, it acted a little bit differently, but more or less it was the same. like, you know, and how in terms of like how it was pretty much an instant kill.
Right. Yeah,
So-
and I mean, obviously, we can never forget that, like, that character in Smash 4 was, like, super busted for the longest time.
Yeah, even after, I mean, I think the character was still busted. It was more of like, you know, the Cloud was, or Cloud was so simple to use and so powerful that like anybody could pick up Cloud. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
at
Which
least
is
with
good for that character.
Bayonetta, you know, Bayonetta was broken, but I think you had to at least somewhat know what you were doing on Bayonetta to like use her efficiently. You know. Mm-hmm. With Cloud, you could just pick it up day one and see success, so.
Exactly, yeah, no, and yeah, like I said, it's like, I feel like Cloud, yeah, it's cool, again, when you think of each character, like, again, like when we talk about Pokemon, the trainer is the most significant thing of, oh, that's from JRPG. When you think of Ness and Lucas, it's like those moves, but yeah, when I think of Cloud's most JRPG-like element, it's building the limit gauge to get like one of those unique moves, right? Like, to me, it's like that's how they represented that franchise super, I mean, that way super well, because again, we always, it's like, we're gonna talk about it when we get to the next character. Oh, actually, no, the character after that, technically. But we always talked about like, oh, how cool would it be if like a character had like a drop down menu to pick moves, and while Cloud didn't have that, right, he still had that limit meter that was like, that's just become like known for that style in Smash, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, that limit gauge, it's still prevalent, you know, in the remake, and it's funny how we were saying like, in terms of like the remake, how Cloud sort of like, oh, it makes more sense for Cloud now because it's an action focused game. But it is funny to think, because let's say theoretically there is another Smash game, and you know, somehow Cloud returns again. Mm-hmm. It's kind of crazy to think like how he'd be like completely different if they go off the remake, right? Like,
I feel like he'd look a little different.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but it'd be really cool if like Cloud in like another Smash game has like the Punisher sort of stance where like he can like parry a hit and he's slower but he does more damage. Like, that'd be very, very fun to play with in Smash, you know.
No, I'm with you. That would be really cool if it's like they finally, because obviously we know like Square's very like protective with their IPs in there, but yeah, it'd be really cool if they were able to adapt that FF7 style, maybe have it so that he also does have a drop down menu. Obviously he can't like slow down the entire match, but like just a menu where he could pick different skills, because he does have a lot of moves that I feel like could still be represented, again, kind of like the hero does, where he shoots his fire, he shoots his lightning. Like, they can make it even more well adapted, but I do think for the most part Cloud is a pretty well made adaptation of him, of the character. I wish they had given him English VO. I think that he's only Japanese VO in the game, but it's still cool obviously that he's in there. It's a very important character. Then when we go next year, we got Joker, was the first big third party character joining the Fighter Pass. And yeah, when I think of Joker, to me he's always I would say in terms of more visual, I would say like in terms of visuals and style and everything, Joker is more Joker than his character is played in Smash, right? Because like you have the slide, which is like not something I associate Joker with. Well, I mean, I guess when you like slide done under an air duct, right? Well, it's cool now playing Persona 5 Royal and kind of like getting that in mind. The little fire he does, I mean, like, I guess that's one of his moves. The grappling hook is from Royal, which is kind of cool. It's like I feel like Joker is more cool in terms of style than he is representative of Persona. You know what I mean?
No, I would agree with that. What you were saying, like, you know, about the slide and the Iha and all that sort of stuff, like, those are, like, animations he does do in the game. Like, he slides under lasers, but his, like, general movement and a lot of his, like, physical attacks, I would argue, like, a lot of that is just pulled from sort of the animated cutscenes and just, like, moving about in, like, the overworld and through the palaces, you know what I mean? Like, he's got, like...
Exactly,
Yeah, a lot of, like, that slick movement, you know, when you're, like, jumping between platforms and stuff, like, in palaces. Like, I think a lot of Smash Joker is representative of that and sort of less of the actual combat of Persona. Right. Like, you know, Iha and Aha, you know, they get powered up, and that's, like, correct. Like, you know, how spells, like, have two different tiers. But, you know, stuff like, and stuff like, even the stuff like his Rebels Guard, like the down B, like, you can guard in Persona games that take less damage. again, like they have to take liberties because
of course, yeah.
Yeah. Now it would have been cool if Joker sort of had, you know, it would sort of almost be like Pokemon shit, because like the biggest thing of Persona is like, oh, you can swap between different personas with the Pro Tag,
exactly.
You know, but I think they just wanted it to be Arsene, you know, because that's the iconic persona from Persona 5,
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it's funny because most people just kind of get rid of Arsene really quickly, right?
Yeah. It's true,
like,
it's true.
It's like, even me, it's like when I'm playing Persona 5, it's like I feel like I saw Arsene for the first 2 hours and then never saw him again. It's like, it's so funny how most people just fuse him away. Yeah, that's how I would have loved if it got different powers. And like I said, like, my biggest disappointment with Joker is, I wish that when he got Arsene, I wish he had different attacks instead of just powered up attacks. Like, I feel like that would have been a really cool
there's a move that Arsene can learn called Dream Needle, and it's a projectile that doesn't do or it's like an attack that doesn't do a lot of damage, but it puts the people to sleep. And I thought that would have been like a more interesting move than just a counter, you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Like,
exactly.
It would have been cool, like maybe it's like a very short range attack, but it puts you to sleep or something like that. Like, it would have been interesting, but
yeah.
But as like representative of a franchise, like, again, yeah, like, it is awesome that Joker is there and we have music and from Persona 3 and 4 and 5, but it is like Joker pretty much just represents Persona 5 and not so much the entire series, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, he really does represent Joker and not necessarily the other Phantom Thieves too. Like you were talking about how Ness and Lucas pull different moves from different characters. Like, Joker is very much representing Joker. But what I love about him is, like, he really does, his JRPG style is really oozed in the style. Again, like, when you do a final smash and you end the fight with it, it does the same thing as the original game. It's like the way when you do it, it just fades out and it says game and it stays on that screen, right? Or obviously him running at the end with like the truck or everything. It's like, I just love that Joker specifically really feels like his animations and style were fundamentally well made and associated with them. Even again, I love that if you win on the Persona 3 stage, it'll have that victory song or 4. It's like, it's just really, I feel like that's his like key of JRPG representation there, like the victory animations and screens there.
Yeah, just style, definitely. It's so much style, like that's, and I think to be fair, I do think Persona as a series, they're all the games are known for their unique style and,
of course,
themes. So I think that it is very fitting in that regard. I do agree with that for sure.
The one move I feel like actually they could have put in there that I feel like would have been cool is, you know, when you when you ambush an enemy and obviously he jumps over them and takes off like their mask or whatever. I feel like a cool variation of that would have been really nice, because like you see that animation a billion times in Persona 5 because you're always ambushing enemies. So I feel like if they had found a way to like put that move in, maybe if like you either side beat to someone or
it would have been cool if like if you grabbed your opponent when they were facing the other way, he could have had animation like that, you know?
That'd be really cool. Like, yeah, exactly. Or you're a down grab or something like that. That would have been really sick. But but overall,
in that regard too, I think, you know, a lot of the physical, like, you know, you can like there's physical spells in Persona games, and they cost HP, and you know, they do different things. It would have been cool if they pulled some of the animations from like those physical attacks like onto Joker's A moves, because like even Joker's like standard attack, like if you just like do a regular melee attack in Persona 5, like that animation, I don't even think that's like really in Smash, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're right, I know.
But like again, I think they really pulled a lot from like the animated cutscenes and just a lot of stuff that happens in the overworld for Jokers in terms of like how he moves and everything like that, which is totally fair.
And I mean, the little grapple was kind of like a Persona 5 Royal preview.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's the first time we've had a character with an attack that is referenced from a game that hasn't been put out yet.
Exactly, which is really cool. But yeah, so that's that one. And then our most recent entry, unless you count Bob, but not really. But let's say Hero, right? Hero is obviously I feel like if you want to talk about a character that represents JRPGs in the biggest way possible, this is the one.
Yeah, Hero is the JRPG character. Like, there's no putting it about it. Like, you know, the fact that they have the different levels of spells. I mean, very standard in JRPGs. The fact that they can crit randomly on the smashes, of course.
Oh yeah.
Like, and of course the down B, which is just literally JRPG, picking an attack from a menu.
Yeah, like I said, it's like I think that's why to this day I think Hero might be my favorite DLC character, just because he really is the most chaotic and fun. Because at first I remember everyone being like, "Oh, here we go, another sword character," but it's like, the sword is nothing about what that character really does, right? Because you have even just your basic flame skills, like the charged B can do crazy damage. And again, that one, like, I feel like just that character's base moveset would have been really cool, like that down B that charges the electricity at 3 levels and your fire that charges at 3 levels. But yeah, having a drop down menu with what is it? Is it 32 different spells? I'm pretty sure 28. It's something.
And they
ridiculous.
all have different mana costs because you have a mana limit too, which is insanely good too.
It's insane,
like
it's crazy, yeah. And it's like, I mean, obviously that character caused a lot of debates and arguments amongst the Smash. What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about like in general?
Well, okay, I think it's settled down now because I think people realize like, okay, maybe they do get lucky and they pull something out of the menu, but like anyone who has actually played Hero knows that you can't afford to just like open the menu and look at it sometimes when your opponent's like running at you. Like you can't just stand there, you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
You can. And in terms of like crits, like I do think like that can be frustrating, but I mean it's funny.
Exactly. So. That's it. It's like for me at the end of the day, I care more that the character is well representing its franchise than I do that like, oh, it causes a weird competitive thing. Because again, like we talk about, at the end of the day, the vast majority of people are playing this game for fun and not for glory, as we would say. But I just love that character again. Like it's like, and obviously what I love about him is like he is the closest we're gonna get to a Dragon Ball character. Like even Sakurai in his video presentation saying like even when he does his charge attacks and his screams, he wanted to emulate Toriyama's style, which obviously is one of the most iconic styles ever, I'd say, in animation. So just seeing, and obviously having the different hero costumes, right? Like that's so cool that it wasn't. It could have just been that you change into their outfits, but the fact that you have the 4 different heroes from the other Dragon Quest games, obviously they could have done even more, but it's like those 4. That's like amazing to me. It's like that character really was. I bet you that character was like one of the most challenging to develop.
Oh, of course. I mean, you have all the moves, you have all the voices and costumes. I think, and it makes sense. Like, I think Sakurai really pushed this character as far as he could because Dragon Quest, again, culturally, but also in terms of its impact on JRPGs and games as a whole, cannot be understated. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, if Hero gets the crit or a hero has a mana, why can't should every JRPG, why can't Ness crit? Why can't Pokemon crit? You know what I mean? And I get that. I mean, people are joking with it, but like I sort of like get that in the sense of like, oh, maybe the other characters aren't represented as well. But I think it's the opposite. I think Sakura's like, this is the JRPG. Like we have to make sure that we go as far as we can. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's what I really. That's what I really love about that character, and I think that is like the definition of a JRPG character represented in there. So now in terms of a bit of like just our own talk here, what do you think? Like,
well, we still have Shulk. We have to
Shulk! Oh my god, we missed Shulk. Of course. Oh my god, how did I miss Shulk? Okay.
I thought you were saving him for last because
oh my god, I forgot.
Xenoblade stuff. So.
Oh my god, I forgot. Yeah, so Shulk. Let's talk about Shulk. Yeah, so I feel like this character is also a really unique way of how they handled it, right? Where basically they have the different Monado arts that you can switch through. And I think, especially because Xenoblade is active combat, like it's like a lot of those attacks and animations are actually things he does in the game and you see him do. Obviously, there isn't Smash or jump. But the other ones, like you have Buster, you have Shield, you have Speed, those are all in the game, and it's just it's so well implemented in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely like captured a lot of like what Shulk does in terms of his spells. Now, I wouldn't say like his talent arts, like some of them aren't really represented, but like as a whole, like the core, like the backslash doing more damage if they're facing the other way, like yeah, of course. air slash, they sort of stretch that one, but it's still like the animation is still very similar. You know, he jumps up and slashes. So, I think, you know, now that I've been playing like through DE, because like, you know, I'm very much familiar with the story, but I haven't played the game in so long that I sort of forgot a lot of like the gameplay elements of it. And it is funny to me how like the Monado arts, like they make perfect sense, but like Buster's the one that does more damage in Smash, but in the game, like, that's enchant. Like, Buster's like a big attack, you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
I was like,
exactly.
thinking to myself today, like, I'm wondering why they didn't make the damage buffing Monado enchant and instead of Buster, you know?
Right. I feel like maybe Buster just sounds cooler.
Yeah, Buster does sound cooler.
It does.
I agree.
Yeah. And yeah, no, I'm with you with that character. Yeah, I mean, that, like, to me, that also, like, that's how cool, what's it called? Shulk is like, that started a wave of people asking like, oh, it'd be cool if other characters had this moveset thing where you held B and you could choose between different like skill sets or arts, right? It's like, I feel like that's a still untapped potential that I think we could see more of.
It's funny because in regards to like him having like the menu where you can like quickly choose between those, I always thought that this is like sort of related, but I always thought that like that'd be like bomb my ass on Mega Man, like how Mega Man can have all the different like weapons that he could like open in the menu and stuff like that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I just thought that menu system on the down B would have fit Mega Man extremely well.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, when we were speculating back then, Byleth, like saying like, oh, it would have been cool if like an FE rep, like you could just like switch between the different menus from the weapons from a drop down menu, like you can. So it's like, yeah, no, Shulk was definitely like another close, like that's kind of his hook, and that's, I mean, it's cool when we've had this conversation, you realize each one has kind of like their JRPG hook, which is like really cool. And again, it's I think, like when you boil it down, the coolest thing about Smash is seeing characters that aren't made for fighting games adapted into a fighting game, and seeing the creative liberties and the styles they take to not only adapt it to a fighting game, but to adapt it to Smash Bros, which is a lot about jumping and recoveries and all these different moves in there.
Yeah, and also like Shulk's whole vision thing. I personally, I really hate counters on down B. I feel like it's usually just a cop-out, but I think Shulk's is like the one that makes the most sense in my opinion. I mean, the fact that like he gets the vision, and if you hit him, he is able to react and swing and get out of the way. Like, I think that makes the most amount of sense.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I agree with you. I think for the most part, a lot of counters are kind of just like a cheap way to just, okay, here's just like a move we can throw on you so we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, no, for Shulk, because not only does he have a vision, and it's not like he just doesn't attack, it's like he does the thing where you see the blue light animation and then he goes through you, which is just like a really, really cool touch in there. And obviously, you can stack it, right? Like if you're in Smash and you have a vision, that can do more damage and stuff. So it's like, it's really well implemented and well done there. But yeah, I think that's all of them so far, right? So are there any JRPG characters that are like iconic or big, or that you would just like to see in the game that aren't in?
That's interesting. I actually feel like it's kind of, it's Square being Square, but it is super sad that there is barely any Final Fantasy representation. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
You know, especially when you look at like Dissidia, which is like, you know, their in-house like, you know, sort of combat arena fighter game. It's sort of like, it's seeing all those characters from like across Final Fantasy represented, and then in Smash Ultimate, it's just, here's Cloud, and here's two Cloud spirits, and we don't even have the music. It's like, oh man, come on.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, like, I think for me, a big one is Chrono, right? Like Chrono Trigger is one of the most iconic JRPGs of all time. And obviously, that character would be incredibly well suited for Smash. I mean, you just think of his design, you think of the sword, you think of his spin attacks, his different spells, everything. It's like that character would be so amazing in Smash. I think that's a character that's like almost like has been on multiple lists internally to think about, and they just haven't gone to it. But that's a really good one. I mean,
Tales of is another one, if you're aware of like Tales of Vesperia or Tales of Symphonia, like Lloyd and Yuri. I know a lot of people like those characters. I like those characters a lot too, so that's definitely something that
Lloyd's
would be
definitely the one.
Have.
Yeah, Lloyd's definitely the one people talk about the most in terms of Tales I feel like he's the one that he's kind of the face of them. And again, people have always said since they work with Bandai on the game that character would make the most sense in there. And speaking of Xenoblade, right? I mean, like the one we're all kind of hoping makes it in this final fighter pass is Rex Pyramithra. Like that is. I feel like that message that Sakurai put out when they gave that costume being like, hey, we just had no time to put him in, and the fact that we're getting an arms rep when he said that for that character too, it's like it just feels like we're so close, and that I think that might be the one.
I really feel like it would be disingenuous if Rex doesn't get added at this point, especially because we got Byleth, who is like,
exactly.
You know, who was DLC, but he was being added in development as like Three Houses was being made. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like it would be really disingenuous if Rex didn't get added.
Yeah, like I really like a fucking memes aside about Myth or whatever. It's just I think that character would have a unique style because again, when you look at Xeno 1 to 2, in the main game it's mainly you as Shulk, but in Xenoblade 2 you rely on your blades, right, and different moves that they have and stuff like that. And obviously you could have like Pyramithra in the background, kind of obviously giving you that aura of skill that they're passing on to you. It's like I think it would be such just a cool character, and I feel like that's the one I really think should be in there, and I want to get in there, especially when you think of how right now Monolith Soft is becoming one of like people's favorite Nintendo developers, right? Like it's like they're just pumping out quality game after quality game, and people are really starting to really just praise them all across the board, and I feel like that game deserves its shine out there.
I definitely agree. Also, I guess it's not, I know, it's more of an action game, but with RPG elements. I guess a lot Sora you could throw in too, because I know a lot of people are dying for Sora, but that's just, again, Square being Square, and we don't even know all the results of, like, you know, what's going on with Disney in that regard, so. We'll we'll just have to see.
I mean, that's the issue with Square. They have so many amazing characters that it's not even an issue of Square being Square. It's an issue of, I'm sure Sakurai and Nintendo want to represent different developers, right? Because I would also love, like, 2B, right, from Nier to be in there, right? But that's another Square rep. Or, like, again, when you think of another one that people have really wanted is Geno, right? And that's kind of Square/Nintendo. I feel like that's another one that's, like... To me, Geno is the final one of the OG characters that people have demanded for forever, right? Like, you think of Ridley, because to me, I always think of Ridley, I think of, what's his name? Who's the other? What the fuck? He was added recently. Banjo, and I think of Geno, right? As the ones that people have asked for forever and have finally made it in, right? So it's like I feel like Geno would just not only represent a JRPG franchise, but that would kind of end like a legacy of I feel like that's kind of the last straw. Again, I feel like Sora is part of modern day people really wanting, but Geno is part of the OG like character wants from back then.
Right.
I don't know. Is there? I mean, I would personally really like Neku from The World Ends With You. That'd be a really cool one.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
That'd be so sick,
that'd be really dope.
Yeah, he could use like his pin system and everything. Like to me, that would be like a really sick character, and it would fall in kind of like the out of left field characters in there, right? It'd be really cool.
But yeah, overall, I mean, you know, it's really cool that, you know, Smash is able to celebrate JRPGs. I feel like even if it only more recently it's been more of a celebration, but I think it's great that the representation has been steadily like getting better and better, you know.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. I agree. Oh, and Paper Mario, just put him in there. He's
oh yeah, awesome. That'd be dope.
Yeah. That's all I want. But yeah, so I think that's it. That's all on the JRPG character front. Let us know who your favorite represented character from JRPGs in the game is. Let us know who you want to see added in. And that's it. That's all. So we will see you all next week. I mean, maybe, hopefully next week is the week. So we'll see. Thank you all for watching. And we'll see you all next time. Peace out.
Peace out.